So we've had a couple of patches, a bit of rebalancing going on for the game when absolutely necessary. Really want to look at what has changed from before and after the patch. To do that, I want to look at the metas, class combination shifts. So we will cover that in this video. And then we'll cover some creative suggestions that AI gave, diversify the meta, and then some of my own personal suggestions. One of the things I thought that they should have done with this game when it came out is stop pushing the content and expansions. Like, as much as I would love to take this new multi-class feature and just blow through all the expansions, I feel like it was done in the wrong way. One of the major problems that EverQuest always had was balancing issues and quality of life issues. It seems like an impossible task when we have single classes that aren't even balanced, for some devs doing this in their spare time, to actually balance the game with multi-class.
Never go full retard.
There's some ways to do it, but I think that the priorities on getting out the expansions so fast kind of took away from the available time to balance class combinations and allow diversity into the game. They're coming back and doing some of that stuff now. So honestly, I hope that they slow down on releasing expansions, and I hope that they actually make the game more diversified. If you've watched any of my videos, you could essentially now just have like a Diablo 2 type character selection screen and pre-make 10 combos or so, and it would cover the majority of the combos played in the game. And that's not really something we want. So, well, there's 560 combos. Are they all playable? Are they used? And the answer is not really. There are things that I don't want to say overpowered, because I hate nerfing things, but they do need to bring up the power of other combinations.
Just do it!
And we'll cover some of the ways they might be able to do that. Now, it does seem like an impossible task, but by balancing the game, it really does open them up to the possibility of having like TLP releases of their own, or call them seasons, where you remake a character on the account and it progresses through from Classic, Lunarch, Valius, and people get to experience that over and over again, yearly, kind of like TLPs. I think that's something really neat that they could do. It actually be a functional TLP. And it would be really interesting to go back and explore the game again before I started playing, but in a balanced environment. So all these combos would be balanced through the whole of the expansion. And the other thing that I don't know if they realize or not, but they've actually solved most of the quality of life issues that EverQuest has. And so while this is really cool, the multi-class, they've actually opened the possibility of doing a whole separate server where you solo class. And this would appeal to the traditional players and some of the hardcore players.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
It would basically be like a faster paced TLP release, because we have legendary gear in the game and a lot of quality of life improvements and enhancements. So I think that they could actually make another Hero's Journey server where you play one class and release that like a TLP. And I think that would do significantly better than the actual EverQuest TLPs. And I really hope that that's something that can be explored at some point, because the developers constantly working on this and responding to community. I really feel like just solo class EverQuest with quality of life and changes they've made in the game, plus legendary gear, make for a faster pace, more reasonable EverQuest that some of the traditional or hardcore players might enjoy. I think with legendary items, you'd be able to do some of the raids with significantly less players, but it would still be the group aspect, and the raid aspect of the game would not be able to solo a lot of stuff in the solo class version of the Hero's Journey. That's one thing that I see a lot of potential in. So the first thing we want to get into is I need to point out that I've tracked level 5 dings and level 65 dings for class combos. This does not, and I have no way of including people that are respeccing. This is basically people making new accounts, players, or leveling themselves. This does not account for people that already have level 65s that are respeccing. And I don't have a way to do that unless devs give me some insider access to the data. So I just want to point that out there for transparency purposes. All right, starting off with before patch, level 5 dings, a total of 6,126 combos I have logged. Necromancer, Magician, Beastlord, obviously, ranked first. Also in the post-patch, the Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, 3 in the post-patch. Paladin, Monk, Berserkers, number 3, moved to 4. Shadow Knight, Bard, Wizard is 4th pre-patch, 2 in the post-patch. Shadow Knight, Rogue, Shaman stayed the same at 5 in both. Bard, Magician, Beastlord moved from 6 to 7. The Cleric, Bard, Enchanter, 7 to 12. Warrior, Cleric, Beastlord from 8 to 9. The Ranger, Druid, Rogue moved from 9 to 15. That one's kind of disappointing, but my last class combo that I did make was Ranger, Druid, Rogue, so I'm a little bit disappointed that that has moved. And number 10, Druid, Magician, Enchanter stays at number 10. And then 11, Warrior, Monk, Beastlord moves up to 6 in the post-patch. And then Druid, Bard, Wizard, 12 to 8. That's level 5. This is starting out making characters and have select classes. And the next thing that we will look at is post-patch level 5s, and we have recorded 8,023 combos in this data. Necromancer, Magician, Lord stays in 1. Shadow Knight, Bard, Wizard up to 2 from 4. Paladin, Ranger, Rogue down to 3 from 2. Paladin, Monk, Berserker down to 4 from 3. Shadow Knight, Rogue, Shaman, as we said, stayed the same. Warrior, Monk, Beast Lord up to 6. 12. Bard, Magician, Beast Lord 7th from 6. And Druid, Bard, Wizard. This is one of the biggest class combination changes we have. Druid, Bard, Wizard moved up to the 8th spot. The rank before the patch was 33.
I'm sure you are very popular.
And then at number 9, Warrior, Cleric, Beast Lord was down from 8. Druid, Magician, Enchanter stayed at 10. And Cleric, Bard, Enchanter is down to 11 from 7. And then Ranger, Druid, Rogue is at 12 when it was 9. And then this is the before patch level 65 for a total of 1,506 combos. Number 1, Necromancer, Magician, Beast Lord. 2, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue. 3, the Bard, Magician, Beast Lord. 4, Shadow Knight, Bard, Wizard. 5, Paladin, Monk, Berserker. 6, Cleric, Bard, Enchanter. 7, Ranger, Shadow Knight, Rogue. 8, Warrior, Cleric, Beast Lord. 9, Shadow Knight, Rogue, Shaman. 10, Warrior, Monk, Beast Lord. 11, Druid, Mage, Enchanter. And then 12, Druid, Bard, Wizard are before the patch level 65 dings. Post patch level 65 dings, we recorded 1,830 combos. Necromancer, Magician, Beast Lord still the reigning champion. Paladin, Ranger, Rogue is at 2. Bard, Magician, Beast Lord is 3rd. Shadow Knight, Bard, Wizard 4. So you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 65 dings. And then even the 5th, Paladin, Monk, Berserker have not changed positions in this data. Those have remained the same at level 65. Shadow Knight, Rogue, Shaman comes in at 6. Druid, Bard, Wizard is 7th. The rank in before the patch was 21st. Again, that made significant advancement. A lot more people were making that at the level 5 marker. And then Warrior, Monk, Beast Lord 8. 9th, Cleric, Bard, Enchanter. 10th, Druid, Magician, Enchanter. 11, Warrior, Cleric, Beast Lord. And then at 12, Ranger, Shadow Knight, Rogue. So the problem with balancing is that what I've been saying is that these 12, just 12 out of 560 advertised possible combinations before the patch at level 5 made up 34.95% of the total combos I recorded. And then after the patch at level 5, you see they moved down to 32.38%. So that drop right there before and after the patch at level 5 shows that there's more diversity and more variety being a good thing. We want these to actually come down. If this number could actually get down to 20% or less, that would be fantastic. The major problem for the patch level 65, 49.14% of all combos were one of the top 12. That is a severe balance issue. That is a severe problem. Almost half of the game is being represented by 12 combinations. That's something that I believe that they're going to continue to work on. And as you can see, after the patch at level 65 dings, that's down to 46.12%. So some of those changes, and we'll continue to track this, have shifted some of the meta, or at least spread it out a little bit. Now, like I said, top 12 really should not be above 20%, probably even less than that, 560 combinations. But like I said, the game was unbalanced before, the classes were unbalanced before. Adding 3 classes together creates a lot of imbalance. So it's great that these numbers are coming down and that they're working on it. So the next thing we're going to do is I ask AI to come up with a list of creative suggestions that they could help diversify the meta. Came up with 15. Some of them a little complicated or I just didn't like, so I cut it down to 7. So first thing I came out with was combo specific augments. And what this says is to introduce augments with effects that only activate if the player has a class pairing. Example, I mean, a Shaman Rogue would have an augment that boosts poison dot stacking. Thinking in terms of combo specific augments or enhancements game. So the second thing I came up with was dynamic bonus rotation is what it's calling it. And this could be weekly XP, coin, or loot buffs to rotate favor toward less desirable classes. So underused class combinations receive this type of buff, encourage re-rolling or alt experimentation. And the devs know what classes and class combinations are least used. They could apply basically a global buff to something valuable to those class combinations while they're working on balancing the game to get them used more frequently. Third thing it came up with was class fusion quests. And this is basically combo-based quest lines. So if the example it gives is a wizard / paladin combo, could unlock like a light themed fire nuke or spells or abilities that are only available to certain combinations. Fourth thing it came up with was the legendary socket system, and this would create combo sockets on high-end gear that unlock unique procs depending on your 3 class power. The lesser used classes, archetypes or whatever, get, you know, a bigger boost from this than the more frequently used ones. And then the fifth thing it came up with, which I kind of like, they're calling it an underdog buff. So automatically apply a mild power buff when playing rarely used class combinations. Scaling can be based on like the server-wide usage. And the sixth thing it came up with was featured builds challenge, and this would spotlight an unusual build each week, say Paladin Necro Bard or something, and reward players who level and complete content using that combination. The seventh thing it came up with was combo locked skill books. It'd be a spells or ability scrolls that can only drop or be activated if a combo is present. So I think that's kind of what you got to start leaning toward, is instead of gear dropping that can be used across all classes, make actual some combinations make gear, or give some combinations enhanced gear over the regular legendary gear to give them a little bit more of a boost. All right, so then some of my suggestions for getting class diversity is, I think it's really cool that you get like the highest skill level available of the classes you pick. So if you have like a defense level, say a warrior, wizard, bard, you get, the highest defense level of the warrior because it has the higher one. However, this creates like a lot of redundancy in the game. The way to solve that is you don't get the highest skill level, but you get the highest skill level available to you plus a certain percentage of all the other classes that have the same skill. That way there's some type of synergy. So say you're making like a warrior, shadow knight, berserker, and they all have two-hand slash. Well, either the warrior berserker's probably got the highest one, then you would get a certain percentage, 10%, 20% of the two-hand slash from the other classes. And this would add up to an overall skill level, which, and would enhance damage mitigation. Be done on casters too. So you have like 3 healers type classes in a group. Alteration would be extremely high and not just the highest. This would allow you to have redundant type classes, but still benefit from them. Like skills like blocking, if you have a beast lord and a monk in there, your block percentage would be naturally higher than the max. Things like that could be added, get some diversity in the builds, and then not have to worry about overlapping or redundant skills because you would still continue to benefit from having those skills to some level. The other thing I'm noticing is there is at some point a 7-day lockout timer. I have not figured out why that was put in the game or who that is for. Maybe there was some type of abuse going on or something, but like I can level a combo max level 65 now with 3000 AA faster than the 7-day class lockout timer, relatively easy. Having that 7-day lockout like limits experimenting. Like there's been times where I've wanted to like redo one of my level 65 combos, and it's like I move one class, then I gotta wait 7 days, put another class in just to get to the combo I want to try it with. Then having that not really work at all. So then it's like I gotta wait 7 more days to even change that. That's literally what I'm doing, is just leveling new characters. And then you get, the free class exchange and a 7-day lockout. So you get 2 changes for every level 65 that you make in that period of time. But I don't understand the 7-day class lockout. It was probably implemented for some good reason. I don't see how that's necessary when you can level 65 with 3000 AA faster than the lockout timer, and shouldn't be forcing people to have to consider that or play with a class combination they may not like for 7 days because they got a lockout timer. I think that needs to be lowered, if not completely removed. Maybe make it a day. I don't know what the abuse was they're trying to address, but this should be very minimal, the lockout. And then similar to the underdog buff that AI came up, there should be some type of like boost to lesser played combinations or classes in general. Whether you call it like a reverse mitigation of the mighty, you can boost damage, mitigation, spell damage. It could even be done by some of the least played classes. It could rotate and change. So say the 3 least played classes like automatically come with like a 10% damage buff on them just for putting them in your thing. That would leave a lot more room for experimentation. Go ahead and throw like a blanket buff on them and see how people respond to that, if it actually shifts the meta, if it changes, and then tweak it from there. Might be a really good way to do it. Devs are always going to have access and way better data than I'll ever be able to collect to what's least played, and they could actually use these buffs to influence a lot of diversity in the game. So yeah, overall, this is awesome. This server is awesome. It is really cool to like see some of the suggestions that the community has, or people making YouTube videos, see those suggestions and then them actually get implemented. And it's really cool seeing this old game live on. And like I said earlier, this makes potential with legendary items and quality of life fixes to make a solo class server that would compete with any of the TLP rule sets that they're releasing right now. The hero's journey could take over the TLPs right out of Daybreak. And at some point, I mean, this could be the future of the game. Daybreak should literally just give the whole development to the hero's journey at this point, because they're willing to do something with the game. I get so many comments all the time about, that's not EverQuest. That's not the way the game needs to be played. And people praising like TLPs and stuff like that. And it's like, TLPs are not how the game was meant to be played either. In fact, the live version of EverQuest is not how the game was originally intended to be played. If you want to see how the game was intended to originally be played, then go play on Project 99. That's not live EverQuest, not TLPs. Actually, if you think about it, Daybreak doesn't have a single server in existence right now that is played the way that EverQuest was originally intended to be played. A lot of us were there in 99. We know how the game was originally meant to be played. And none of EverQuest Live is played like that. It's not even close. They continuously implemented quality of life updates and other fixes, nowhere near the extent of THJ, but those changes and quality of life fixes were necessary to keep the game alive and to keep it fun and playing. And what I had to explain to some people is that like the demographic for EverQuest is literally, if you even look at who watches my videos, 99% of the people are male in the age group of like 30 to 50. So it's not like I'm making videos for my specific scenario, making all these requests because I got a family life and I got a job. And it's like, that's not just my scenario. That's almost everybody's scenario in age 30 to 50. If the game was still played like it was intended to be played, it would be dead already. Like gone. There'd be no money, nothing. TLP's been around for like 10 years now, and we've been through all those too. So, you know, when I say a server is dead on arrival and other people are saying the server is dead on arrival, that's not guessing. It's not wishing, hoping. That's because we've already seen it before. And it's because we're disappointed that they're not listening. And it's why places like THJ and P99 and the emulation servers are taking over. So I'm just saying, like, understand where we're coming from. You know, I've been around this game since it came out 26 years. You know, we're not just THJ players. We're not just emulation players. We're not just botters. We're not just macro questers. We're not solo players. Or, you know, I've played the game in almost every rendition and every way at this point. And while I would love to play it and have all that time I had back in the day to play it as it was intended, where you could just looking for group and get into groups, you know, within 15 minutes, like that's not reality anymore. You put all this time into a TLP and it just dies out. Like it never makes it to live servers. Hope you enjoyed this video. I started tracking population data across some of the TLPs, getting ready in preparation to track the population data for the new TLP coming out. And then we'll cross compare that over a timeline and we'll kind of see where players move from the TLPs, if they move at all, how many people come off of the hero's journey and emulation servers. We'll take a look at all that data and see what happens. But if you're interested in watching more of my content, check out this video.
We got P99, we got TLP, we got private servers and tests that's free. Some of us pay, some of us don't, some of us play, some of us won't. Did you just break my mess? Did you just train me? Did you just miss a healing? Are you gonna rest me? And please I need a sow, and please I need a rest. Please I need that sword, I'll take what you got.